Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is your boy Luke Vaughan. I'm back with another video. It is another book breakdown, book review, and we are talking about A Field Guide to Lies, Critical Thinking with Statistics and the Scientific Method by Daniel Levitin. Very great book. I think New York Times bestseller. No? International bestseller? There you go. That's okay. We'll take an award. But yeah, this book is actually really great. It's only like 250 pages. Gets right to the point. There's really no fluff. Not too much math. And basically, let's just break down what this book talks about. So, in A Field Guide to Lies, it basically gives you the idea that statistics are not as they seem, and statistics, charts, numbers can be so easily manipulated that it's like you genuinely sometimes can't even, you have no idea. There's no way you're going to even really figure out that you're being completely lied to, because the way the chart, the way the statistics, the way the labeling, the numbers are set up, the number spacing, it's all just an illusion for the most part. Obviously, there are some truths with statistics, and you can use statistics to actually help you make a judgment or gather an opinion about something, but at the same time, you have to really look at the chart or the statistics and the numbers that you're looking at and kind of ask yourself a lot of questions. Where did these numbers come from? How are these numbers and this chart labeled? Like, how is it spaced out? How is it graphed? How is it presented to me? Who asked these questions? Who took this graph? Who took this chart? Who were in the surveys? There's a lot of like things like, oh, survey says this. Like, I was never asked that. Like, who's getting asked these questions in these surveys? Like, at some point, you probably do have to ask that question. And this is a great book. I read this right before COVID came out. And, you know, like all these, you know, COVID charts, who got COVID, who tested positive, where's all the testing, and all this, this, that, and the third, and who's sick, and how many comorbidities. And, like, you really do have to question, where are these numbers coming from? Who has these numbers? 70% of people are unhappy with Joe Biden. It's like, I was never asked that. I might be happy or unhappy with Joe Biden, but like, where are these numbers coming from? There's just like these numbers. It's like $40 billion to Ukraine is the budget. How is that the budget? Let me see the number breakdown. And it's like, and for the most part, it's going to be hard to find that because people don't want to tell you the truth. So definitely A Field Guide to Lies. There is a little bit of math in this, like probability. If you actually do the math with certain, you know, life situations using probability or odds, it is sometimes your natural mind and your intuition plays a trick on you. And if you do the math, you have a better chance of getting a more correct answer. And that's kind of like the idea of, if you ever watch like these movies about playing blackjack or poker and stuff, they do kind of like, the movie tells you it's simple math. It actually gets pretty complicated for these high level players. But for the most part, it can be simple math as long as you just constantly ask these questions, constantly remind yourself that the numbers are meant to trick you, the labels are meant to trick you, the whole entire graphs and stats and the line charts and a 100% pie graph, like, it's all supposed to kind of sell you a narrative and give you a bias. And as long as you can have a check mark of all these like questions, like, I gotta ask this, I gotta look at this, I gotta look at this, and if you go through the line and you eventually kind of come to this realization of what this chart and this graph actually means, you have so many questions. And that's the same thing with arguing scientific studies. Like, people will bring up, oh, this scientific study says this. It's like, yeah, well, did you look into that scientific study? You can really rip apart, like, let's say diet, right? They do a lot of scientific studies about diet and fasting or ketosis. But if you actually look into those studies, they're not the best form of evidence. Like, there's a lot of questions that can be raised from just looking into the studies. So when you're looking at graphs and charts, especially on, you know, the abortion is going to be a big subject now. There's going to be a lot of graphs and numbers and finances all thrown around. So if you can look at it objectively, you can actually try to figure out what the graph or the markers or the equations are trying to say, specifically graphs and charts. This is what this book talks about. And there are parts where it's a little challenging and you have to do some math and you have to work through it. But that's the whole point of reading, trying to gain some skills, gain some knowledge, gain a perspective. And I totally recommend A Field Guide to Lies. Critical Thinking with Statistics and Scientific Method lays out the models of critical thinking we will need. It is really a fantastic book. I recommend it to anybody. Smash that like button, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I appreciate the views. Let's just keep going. More vlogs, more videos coming. Podcast link in my description. Check that out. Deuces.